Suguru Geto. Suguru Geto is a complex villain with a strong ideology. His primary motive is to rid the world of non-sorcerers, believing that only Jujutsu sorcerers should exist. Together, he and Satoru Gojo were once seen as the strongest duo of their generation, and they were inseparable during their youth. However, while Gojo's confidence in his abilities grew, Geto began to doubt the system they served. This ideological shift drove him to betray Jujutsu High, massacring an entire village, and he ultimately led a devout group of curse users and curses in the infamous Night Parade of 100 Demons, an act of Jujutsu terrorism that brought chaos to Japan. His death came at the hands of Gojo, his former friend, in a final, bittersweet encounter that cemented the tragedy of his fall from grace. Uraume Sukuna. Sukuna is the most powerful and feared villain in Jujutsu Kaisen. Known as the King of Curses and the strongest sorcerer in history, his strength is immense, capable of destroying entire cities like he did during the Shibuya incident. His cruel and sadistic nature after incarnating in Yuji defines him as a true antagonist, delighting in the suffering of both others and Yuji himself. Sukuna's possession of Megumi Fushiguro adds another layer of his villainy, using Megumi's body and technique as a tool for his own plans. After defeating Gojo in a fierce battle, Sukuna stood victorious, but his eventual downfall came when he lost to Yuji Itadori, not just physically, but in a battle of ideals. Mahito. Mahito embodies the darkest aspects of humanity, as the curse born from human hatred. Mahito's curse technique, Idol Transfiguration, which manipulates souls, lets him easily reshape the lives and bodies of anyone with just a touch of his hand. Mahito's most significant impact comes from how he used this ability to torment Yuji Itadori and influence him with the cog mentality, repeatedly stressing that Yuji is the same as him, just another cog in the machine of life and death. He transfigured over 1,000 innocents in the Shibuya incident and caused some of the most heartbreaking moments in the series, but in the end, Yuji pushed him to a pitiful state, with Kenjaku intervening and finishing him off. Junpei Yoshino. Junpei is one of the most tragic figures in Jujutsu Kaisen. His life was marred by bullying and isolation, making him an easy target for Mahito's manipulation. After awakening a curse technique, Mahito twisted Junpei into taking revenge on his school, which led to a confrontation with Yuji Itadori. Despite Junpei's tragic circumstances, he trusted Mahito and believed that he had found a friend. In a cruel twist, however, he was betrayed, leading to his inevitable death and devastating Yuji permanently. Toji Fushiguro. Toji is a legendary assassin with a heavenly restriction, which grants him incredible physical prowess at the cost of having no curse energy. After the death of his wife and being exiled from the Zenin clan for his lack of jujutsu, Toji returns to a world of crime, scheming to assassinate Riku Amanai, the Star Plasma vessel. After failing to finish off a teenage Satoru Gojo, Toji left a lasting impact, as he entrusted his son Megumi to Gojo's care before dying, despite them being enemies. Toji's story comes full circle when he returns during the Shibuya incident, where he kills himself for a second time to spare his son from any further torment. Kenjaku. Kenjaku is one of JJK's main antagonists, a master of barrier technique second only to Tengen. He has lived for centuries by using his curse technique, which allowed him to steal the bodies of others, including Suguru Geto's. Kenjaku's goal was to optimize the world's curse energy by starting the Culling Games, a grand-scale experiment that involved sacrificing the people of Japan. His twisted curiosity also led him to create both Yuji Itadori and the death-painting wombs, only to abandon them after considering them failures. While in the Culling Game's final phase, Yuta Kotsu worked with Takaba and Todo Aoi to finally put an end to his evil plans. Jogo. Jogo was one of the most powerful and ambitious disaster curses, eager to bring about an age of curses where humans are no longer dominant. His raw power and speed make him a formidable opponent, but his arrogance led him to challenge both Gojo and Sukuna, two fights where he was easily outclassed. Jogo made a significant impact by forcing Sukuna to awaken in Yuji, and with his maximum meteor technique, he showcased his destructive might. Even though Jogo was getting toyed with, Sukuna ends up recognizing his strength, but only after charring him in a climactic battle of fire. Hanami. Hanami is the most physically durable of the disaster curses and is driven by a deep desire to protect nature from human destruction. Hanami invades the Goodwill event, where she battles Yuji Itadori and Todo Aoi at once, showcasing her immense power. Later on, she learns domain amplification to get through Gojo's infinity, but it still wasn't enough to save her from his overwhelming power. Dagon. Dagon starts as a cursed womb, embodying the fear of the ocean. After consuming countless of the dead bodies around Shibuya, he evolves into one of the strongest disaster curses. His vast domain expansion served as both a stronghold for his allies and a lethal battleground for his enemies. After a grueling battle with several grade 1 level sorcerers, Dagon seemed unstoppable until Toji Zenin appeared. Despite his power, Toji overwhelmed Dagon with raw physical might, exercising him swiftly and mercilessly. Haruta Shigemo. Haruta is one of the weakest and most hated villains in the series. He wields a cursed tool created by Juzo, a fellow follower of Kenjaku, and his technique grants him lucky miracles, allowing him to survive situations he otherwise shouldn't. Shigemo is a coward, often stabbing people in the back, and his actions are more frustrating than impactful. He meets his end in Shibuya, where after his life is yet again spared, he wanders into Sukuna's open domain, dying almost instantly. Choso. Choso is one of the 10 death painting wombs created by Naruto Shikamo, sharing the blood manipulation curse technique with his brothers Eso and Kechizu. As the oldest sibling, Choso's abilities are the most developed, and through them, he learned that Yuji killed his brothers. He initially seeks revenge, teaming with Kenjaku and killing many innocents in the process. However, he discovered that Yuji is also his blood relative after nearly taking his life, and Choso dedicated himself to protecting Yuji as his only remaining family. Choso's later sacrifice to save Yuji from Sukuna's furnace technique further solidifies his loyalty, and closes his complex redemption arc. Naoya Zenin. Naoya is a representation of the worst aspects of Jujutsu society, positioned to be the next head of the Zenin clan before Megumi got in his way. After an intense battle with his cousin Maki, Naoya was killed, humiliated by her overwhelming strength. However, Naoya returned as a vengeful cursed spirit determined to kill Maki. Despite being the fastest entity in JJK with incredible speed, it still wasn't enough to take her down, and even his domain expansion didn't work on Maki. In the end, he helped Maki fully realize her potential, and she finally ended him for good. Reggie Star. Reggie is an incarnated sorcerer who was once friends with Kenjaku and a participant in the Culling Games. He sacrificed others for his own benefit, luring several players into death traps just for their points. After Megumi confronted him, Reggie tried overwhelming him using his contracting technique, and they fought in a battle of wits. Eventually, he was outsmarted in Megumi's incomplete domain, and after giving Megumi all of his points, his final words were both cryptic and impactful, telling Megumi to let fate toy with him until he died. Yorozu. Yorozu appears after the events of the Culling Games, taking over Sumiki Fushiguro's body as a reincarnated sorcerer. Her obsession with Sukuna drives her to challenge him, and he accepts, hoping to bury Megumi's soul even deeper in despair. Yorozu is a master of the construction technique, using powerful liquid metal as well as insect armor to fight. Despite performing well against Sukuna's maxed out 10 shadows, she ultimately dies shortly after expanding her domain, which crushes Megumi's soul as Sukuna uses his power to kill his own sister. Uraume. Uraume is Sukuna's loyal servant from the Heian era and acts as his personal chef. They use powerful ice-based techniques to freeze and shatter opponents, and set up Sukuna's bath of cursed energy to plunge Megumi's soul further into darkness. Uraume is forced to fight against the immortal gambler Hikari, and is ultimately stalled, unable to go to Sukuna's aid. After Sukuna's defeat, Uraume shatters himself to follow Sukuna's soul wherever it may go next. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, feel free to check out this one next.